Hi everyone, my name is Liza Gack and I'm a PhD student at the UC Berkeley School of Information. I worked on this project in collaboration with Seyi Olojo, a third-year PhD student at the School of Information, and our advisor, Dr. Niloufar Salehi. I'm excited to share our work with you today. Before we begin, I wanted to give a quick content warning for discussions of disordered eating in this presentation. I'll be presenting on what motivated us to conduct this research, our questions in this space, how we set up our study, what we found, and what we hope you can take away from our work today. This project began when all three authors started noticing weight loss ads on our feeds constantly. While this content might only be mildly annoying to most people, it can be seriously harmful to people with histories of disordered eating, excessive dieting, and body stigma. While weight loss advertising has a long history before targeted advertising, what's new about the ads that we were seeing is that they're delivered by highly personalized targeting algorithms. Personalization is really effective, especially when ads behaviorally target based on users' past data. But when a user's data contains information about sensitive health conditions, what does that mean for the health and well-being of vulnerable people? In our research, we focus on the harms of weight loss ads targeted to people with histories of disordered eating. Now that we've started to see just how powerful ad targeting can be, we wanted to understand the effects of targeted weight loss ads on vulnerable people and how these users were practicing agency in the face of potential harm. Specifically, we asked, how are people with histories of unhealthy body stigma, dieting, and disordered eating harmed by targeted weight loss ads? How do these users mitigate the reach and harm of targeted weight loss ads? When thinking about how to approach these questions, we use some unique strategies in thinking about how to study the harms of online advertising. We looked to online communities where conversations about targeted weight loss ads were already happening. Specifically, we looked at the intuitive eating community. Intuitive eating is an eating philosophy associated with positive body image that provides a path to recovery from disordered eating as recommended by medical professionals. We considered this community because its members have already drawn attention to the harms of targeted weight loss ads and have collectively shared their reactions to ads as well as what they do to mitigate these ads. Recruiting from communities where people have already thought about the weight loss ads helped us dive right into discussing their effects rather than having to walk participants through making sense of the ads first. We recruited from this online community and asked participants about their experiences. We conducted 21 semi-structured interviews with adults with histories of disordered eating. In total, these interviews lasted about 45 minutes. The first part was focused at understanding people's experiences, while the second part was aimed at surfacing potential design solutions and strategies. In this second part of the interview, we presented 6 storyboard comics, where each comic sketches out a common strategy for resisting distressing ads, where we asked participants to identify which strategies that they had taken and what felt most effective. Participants had a lot of creative solutions that went beyond the comics, but were only able to get there by comparing and contrasting the comics that we gave them. And now we want to share a little bit about our findings. Through these interviews, we identified 3 distinct sources of harms in algorithmically delivered advertisements. We also want to share how participants made sense of ads and how they resisted and practiced agency. Participants believe that because they had searched for content related to disordered eating in the past, they were now prime targets for weight loss ads. A past interest, like diets or excessive exercise, was brought up as a triggering reminder of their disordered eating through targeted weight loss ad delivery. Targeted advertising relies on a wealth of user data to target ads, but while doing so, reveals intimate vulnerabilities. Second, participants spoke to algorithmic relevancy models oversimplifying their interest in a topic. When we say relevancy models, we mean the technical mechanisms that recommend compatible content based off of a user's behavior or demographics. The participants we recruited from the intuitive eating subreddits were largely still interested in food and exercise content, but framed in ways that are appropriate for those with histories of disordered eating. Participants felt that targeting algorithms weren't able to pick up on their specific needs and weren't nuanced enough to understand their opposition to diets. Targeting algorithms use relevancy models that oversimplify and sometimes harm broad populations with diverse needs and vulnerabilities. Finally, design patterns that increase engagement increase the potential for harm. Targeted ads frequently use dark design patterns, such as personalized language and interactive quizzes, which participants felt were successful in engaging them. Participants explained that these design patterns had the potential to encourage destructive behavior for vulnerable people. And some of our participants even identified their engagement with weight loss ads as symptoms of their disordered eating patterns. Through interviewing participants, we were not only able to expose the various sources of harm, but also understand how participants engaged in a sense-making process about targeted weight loss ads. In reflecting on the emotional and physical effects after repeatedly receiving weight loss ads, participants identified ads as reinforcing low self-esteem and a lack of control. Most of our participants described the lack of scientific backing for the ads as a major reason for identifying them as harmful. The content in the online targeted ads does not undergo a rigorous verification process and is often unsubstantiated by scientific evidence. Participants felt that ad content should be based on legitimate and reliable information, especially with respect to sensitive health topics such as weight loss. Our participants identified themselves as susceptible to engaging and subsequently harming themselves with weight loss ads. Because users experienced emotional distress due to triggering ads, they changed their online behavior to mitigate the reach and harm of ads. Resistance took many forms according to interviews. Participants saw resisting ads as progress of their recovery, which is why we think it's important to lift up this resistance. On the other hand, participants also spoke about the limitations of their approaches in preventing future harm to themselves and others. Participants deployed creative strategy in resisting the harmful effects of weight loss ads, but were aware of the limitations. Overall, there are three main things we want you to take away from today. First, we identified major ways in which targeted advertising harms people. The persistence of sensitive personal data can expose vulnerabilities. Next, algorithmic relevancy models can oversimplify interest, and furthermore, interactive design patterns can nudge vulnerable users towards unhealthy behavior. Second, targeted weight loss ads have negative emotional and physical harms. Third, users employ lots of creative strategies to mitigate the reach and harm of targeted weight loss ads, but there's lots of opportunities in the future to help users strengthen their strategies. We hope that this study can reframe how the CSCW community considers repeated daily harms online. To make sense of our findings, we used a postcolonial environmental studies concept called slow violence, which captures gradual, delayed harm over time, where the cause of violence is separated from the effects of violence. Since ads are not usually regarded as a site for violence, the harms experienced due to targeted weight loss ads are often difficult to trace. We hope that this theoretical framework both broadens and complicates understandings of harm via socio-technical systems. Overall, we hope that our research opens avenue for future work addressing online harms that may be less apparent, as articulated by the concept of slow violence. We propose two main areas around future work: designing for user agency and public policy interventions. Thank you to everyone who has supported this work along the way, and we would love to answer questions and receive feedback based on this work. Thank you.